All right, what's up everybody? Welcome to my channel and to this video. We're back here in the bathroom 2 years later. I had installed this sliding glass shower door. I'm really happy with everything a couple of years later, except I noticed there's some very small, as you can see right here, some hairline fractures happening in the grout. So we're gonna get that taken care of. I do not like my grout cracking. Let me show you how I do it. All right, you guys ready for a surprise?
Yeah.
While you guys were gone, Daddy was working in the shower. Go ahead and take a look. See what I did?
No.
What? You can't tell?
No.
Exactly. We're back here in the bathroom 2 years later. I had installed this sliding glass shower door and also this custom bathroom countertop here made of poplar. I love this thing. Also, we've got some sink and faucet and mirror action happening, but I actually wanted to bring you back to the shower. I've got my shower head here. Really happy with the tiling job 2 years later. Everything looks really good. I had done this from scratch. A little filmy on the shower glass that could be cleaned, but that's, I think, pretty standard. The purpose of this video is to draw your attention to this. I was kind of going crazy with the grout here, and I just had grouted this 90-degree corner you can see on both sides. And it's been pretty minor. Apparently you're supposed to caulk this instead, especially when you have an exterior wall or within bathroom scenarios. Although to be fair, I have seen professional jobs like this one that basically has 90-degree corners that are grouted in. But you're supposed to caulk, you're supposed to put 100% silicone on there, and that allows for movement and shifting of this wall, or maybe this wall. And so what I've noticed is that over a couple of years, let me zoom in here and see if you can see this. We've got some very benign cracking happening. No crumbling, just very slight cracking. And it's funny because when I look at it, sometimes it's gone, sometimes it's not. And would you notice this if you weren't me? I mean, I'm super like anal retentive with everything around the house. Any little whatever, and I'm all over it, right? This wall here is actually pretty good, and this wall here is pretty good. But it's this exterior wall here that's having a little bit of minor cracking. So we're gonna be fixing that in this video. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go way back to my install, and I understand that you might not have access to this because you don't film or photograph everything, but I had filmed the process of me, tiling and installing this, and so I have the luxury of looking back at my videos to see, okay, did I install this wall first or this wall first? Because we're gonna be cutting out this grout actually, and then replacing it with 100% silicone caulk that matches color. And so that's important to determine, was it this wall first or this wall first, because of the angle of our blade that we're gonna use. Are we gonna go in this way and cut? Or are we gonna go in this way and cut? We don't wanna damage any tile on the underside. We just wanna make a clear cut through that grout that'll basically free up this wall here. And we're gonna do the same thing on this corner so that this wall, despite temperature changes and whatnot, can shift back and forth, and that will, in theory, prevent the cracking that you see here. And as far as preventing or fixing the cracking, we're actually going to be mixing a fresh batch of grout and applying that over the cracks. I've got about 2 hours before the kids and the wife get home. They're out, and I'm trying to take care of this as fast as I can. My goal is to get things finished and cleaned up before they get home. Can I do it? Wish me luck. So my next step here is to get out my tools. I've got an extension cord. I've got a multi-tool, and we're gonna be putting the appropriate blades on there. And then once we make the cuts, we're gonna be replacing it with this stuff right here. This is the same color. It's called Rain, and I ordered this online. We have to apply it with the caulk gun, and we're gonna put this cool little condom thing on the end of it so it doesn't dry out once we're done with that. Let's press pause for a hot second. Welcome to the channel. Do lots of home projects around the house, saving you time and money. Nothing is off limits. Click that subscribe button, like the video, and share this with somebody that you know. Also, if you have hobbies, which I know you do, and you want to turn them into cash, just like I have done, I'm going to show you how you can create your own YouTube channel. Yeah, look at that money right there. It's really helped our family, and I'm revealing all of my secrets in that link right there. You can check the description below. I have built a full course, a free course for you, and a master's course if you're really serious about converting your hobbies into cash. Check out the link in the description below, like I said, and you won't regret it. Let's get back to business here. So the job should be pretty simple in theory. So I'm gonna shut my big trap and we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right, so we're gonna be doing our first cut on this side, but I've got my multi-tool. And you can see I've got some protective tape up. This is painter's tape, but it should provide a layer of protection because we're gonna be cutting this way. I've got my blade set to pretty much 90 degrees. We're gonna be cutting like that, and then all the way down should be clearing the tile from the tile by cutting that grout line. So that's what's next. All right, here we go.
Actually, I'm going to put my mask on, and it's kind of loud too. Okay, so I had to put another piece of tape on. Look, very lightly, the multi-tool was, I think it scratches off a little bit, but it was leaving a mark. So I put up a double layer of tape on both sides as well. All right.
So I know I look ridiculous, but gotta wear a mask, gotta have ear protection. This thing was cutting really well, so it's appropriate to have the right kind of blade. It's angled just right, and you can actually rotate the blade 90 degrees, or as you arrive to the bottom, you don't have to go all the way down, because I think as long as we get like 95% of the wall cut through, it's gonna solve the problem. 100% maybe, I don't know. But I didn't want to cut into the fiberglass shower pan. So as I got to the bottom, I tilted my blade straight up as opposed to 90 degrees. And I was able to do that pretty well. I'll give you a closer look here. So you can see we've got a lot of the grout removed. And check this out. We've got a nice clear line all the way through. And the blade, look at this. When it's actually going, it'll penetrate, it'll actually kind of go through, and you'll feel it kind of free up a little bit, and that's when I know I've cut through the majority of the grout. So we've got a nice clean line. So we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing over here. All right, there's dust everywhere. So respirator, ear protection, and maybe some eye protection as well. Let's take a look and see where we're at. So you can kind of see, if you get the camera through here, we've got everything cut through, maybe a little bit right there. So you can see with the color change. Black means cut through all the way. Gray means remaining grout. But you can see it's looking pretty good, I think, so far. However, I do want to draw your attention. You can learn from my mistakes. Definitely double up on this line of, if you're using a multi-tool like this, double up on the tape here because you're working hard, it's on full steam, cutting all the way through, and you lose sight, you lose track of the edge. We'll see how it looks when it's all said and done, but definitely damage to the protective tape. So you can double up there, triple up if you need to. Maybe duct tape if it doesn't leave residue. You'll have to experiment with that. Yeah, you can actually see the red guard through there. Slight tintish, pinkish tint. Can you see that? So that grout line is clear and we're good to go. Now, this looks like a scratch, but it indeed may not be a scratch. So, because if you use your fingernail, it kind of scrapes off. So I'm gonna be doing that. Get a damp cloth, a little bit of abrasion, fingernail, and that pretty much comes out. So at first I was like, oh man, I totally scratched that, but no, a little buffering and it should come right out. In fact, if you've got a little brush, watch this. A few passes and we are pretty much good. I like it, baby. DIY. A few errors here and there, but that's the point, right? That's how you learn. All right, we've got things cleaned up. We've got an alcohol pad now, and I'm just gonna, after I wiped all the powder down with the towel, I've got an alcohol pad. And this will help prep the surface for that caulk to adhere to. And these are just like the clean your electronics. They're good for phones, but also stuff like this. Got a little alcohol in it and it's gonna dry real fast and help prep that surface so that it can adhere, the caulking can adhere pretty well, because we don't want to have to do this again. And it also works well to get up some of that if you've got blemishes from your multi-tool on the tile. All right, and now the fun part. Caulking, or caulk, choose your preference, whatever word you like better, but this one's got a little cap on it. And we're gonna cut this off diagonally. We'll have to fish for that. It fell off. I don't want that going down the drain. And so we're gonna be applying a nice bead. Yeah, I like that. Thank you, Makai, for including the little cap. I don't have to use the little condom thing. Check this out. I don't know if you've seen these, but these are pretty neat. Basically mini condoms for your caulk. That's right, I just said that. You know how to do it. Put it on like that, and you can remove it. Or you can do that. But I get ahead of myself. Okay, let's go ahead. And we might need to put a nail down there just to get things going. So let me do that. Or if you're too lazy to go to the garage, we'll use a paper clip here. There we go. There we go. Nice and wet. Pop the seal. Put that where it doesn't fall on the carpet. My wife will kill me. And oh yeah, I hear it coming. Here it goes, baby. Come on. Give me the good stuff. There we go. All right, so nice and silver, actually rain color technically. That should match. A lot of faith here. I'm gonna trust that this actually is color matching to the existing grout here. But if you are worried about that, you wanna test that first. Just take a little bit, put it on there, let it dry. Don't be in a big hurry. and make sure that that dries to your satisfaction. And if it doesn't, you can go experiment with another color. But this one is the exact same color that the Grout was. So I'm trusting this company has figured it out, and we'll go ahead and apply this. So we'll start over here on this side. Things are dry, and we want to make sure that that shoots into the gap, that just doesn't cover the surface, but it actually goes inside. So I'm going to angle it down just a little bit. And notice my technique here. I'm going back and forth. Trigger is pressed. And that is hopefully shooting into that space. That's what she said. And got it angled, like I said. I don't know what else there is to say. I will go through here and smooth it out when I'm done, but I'm gonna get a full bead on here, and let's do that. All right, so we've got a layer on, and now I'm gonna take my finger here, and I am gonna just straighten that out. And if you need to wipe it off, get a paper towel. Want it nice and smooth. Now the finger might leave some residue, so I've got my trusty caulking tool here, and this is pretty nice because that's going to get rid of those edges a little bit. And you don't want too much time to pass because you don't want it to dry. But look at that. It's collecting some. And it's gonna be, I think, pretty nice when it's all said and done. Oh, we're getting a little thick here, so I'm gonna wipe that off. And these tools are pretty cheap. I don't know, $5 or so, $6. It's all about the angle. I want it to be continuous, pressing against both of those walls. There we go, not too bad. And when that dries, oh, we got a little thick right there on that side. But when that dries, I can kind of rub some of that off a little bit. But let's get a close look. We can see that's gonna be, oh, that's gonna be nice and watertight, I think. We'll do the same thing on that side now. Excess over here as I wiped it, remember, we can pick that off with our, you can also obviously put tape up, and we're going to put another layer on here in a minute, but this works pretty well if you just use your fingernail, or you can get out this little tool. It's plastic, and that contours well, so you're going to be scraping up the sides and not the actual layer or bead of caulking that you put down. So that's one way to do it. Get this nice and cleaned up here. All right, so now let's apply our second bead, and this will be more of the aesthetic bead. We can definitely put some tape on there, but the first layer was just to get everything into the grooves behind the tile, and this one should help cover up any edges or blemishing that happened. So before we put the new grout, the patched grout on, there's a layer from the multi-tool kicking up all that dust. There's a layer of stuff on. So I want to carefully, I've got just a wet rag here. Well, not carefully, you don't need to be careful. Just make sure everything's wiped down before you put that grout on, including the grout lines itself. Might as well do the tiles too. If your caulking is still drying, obviously you want to be careful not to disrupt that. So we'll get this all wiped down. So these are the supplies that I'm using. I've got Mapai Ultra Color Plus. I did a separate video reviewing this, the initial installation of this. Pretty nice stuff. It's fast drying, but I kind of found if you drop the ambient temperature, it gives you a little more flexibility in terms of dry time. So definitely like this stuff. And I'm not going to be using a trowel to apply this. I'm just going to be using my finger, but I've got a sponge to get wet and we'll even that out. So let's mix this stuff up, and we want a peanut butter consistency similar to how I originally applied it to the shower. Color matching will be my priority here, and feathering it out a little bit so it blends in nicely. That's the goal. So we're going to add a little bit of this, a little bit of water, and mix it up. That's better. It doesn't fall off the spoon or the knife. So we're going to apply this with the finger here, and let's do it. So I'm just using my finger here to get some, but not everything. And you can see it goes pretty fast because we're just putting in a layer that will kind of plug, so to speak, any of those gaps, if that makes sense. And we're focusing on the cracks, but you'll kind of lose track because we're under time here too. Remember, this stuff is fast drying, so you got to move relatively quickly. So let's say you want to stop here and leave this. Well, we're gonna, with our sponge, we can start with this with our finger a little bit, but it'll kind of dry out on you. But feather it out, and with the sponge we'll do the same thing. But let me continue working with my finger to get all this stuff in. All right, so we made it. One batch ended up being just enough. You can see it starting to dry right here. Before it gets completely dry, that's fine, it's starting to set. We're gonna get the sponge, we're gonna get it wet, and then wipe it down and rinse. Wipe it down and rinse. And we're gonna be wiping diagonally, not like this, because we don't wanna pull up the grout that we just laid, and not like this either, but diagonally. So after our initial pass, you can see the grout lines, get that in focus for you, are looking pretty good. We don't have any more. Let's come back up to the top. Look at that initial one. It's already started to dry, and clearly the cracks are no longer there. So the initial pass with the sponge is really to even out the grout that you just applied, right? And if it's wet, it can still be moved a little bit. So I'm just visually inspecting to make sure all the grout lines look good and they're all sealed up, so to speak. So now after that, I still have haze on the tile, look at that. So I need to do several more passes with my damp sponge diagonally, and we can try to feather that out a little bit like that if there's an area of grout that you didn't do. And by the way, we're not doing this wall because there's absolutely no cracking happening in this wall. Same with this one. It's only on this wall. We'll do several passes with the damp sponge, rinse, several passes, rinse, and then we just let this bad boy dry. We'll come back and see how it looks in the morning to make sure that the color has matched well and all the cracks are sealed up and everything looks good, and then we'll call this job done. Got a little bit of a mess, and I've got 10 minutes before the kids and my wife get home. Yay! I think I did it. I gotta clean this up. All right, you guys ready for a surprise?
Yeah.
While you guys were gone, Daddy was working in the shower. Go ahead and take a look. See what I did?
No.
What, you can't tell?
No.
Exactly. All right, and here we are 24 hours later. Let's do an inspection to make sure that that grout dried well and that it transitions well to the existing, and that the caulk line is also color matching and whatnot. Here's the water test. We're gonna turn on the water and make sure everything is indeed waterproof, that water is trickling down. We don't see any gaps or anything like that, but I mean, this is pretty simple from this point forward. We're done here, and we'll go ahead and call this job finished. Thanks for being with me today, and hopefully this helps you.